David worked as a cashier at a bustling local store, where he encountered all kinds of people daily. One afternoon, a teenage girl approached his counter, her baby nestled in her arms. Her clothes were worn, her expression weary, and her eyes betrayed a quiet desperation. As she placed baby food and diapers on the counter, David noticed her fumbling through her pocket for cash, pulling out only a $1 bill, far less than the total amount. The young woman hesitated, her gaze fixed on the small pile of necessities before her. A man nearby, seemingly impatient, shouted at her to hurry up. Flustered, she reached out reluctantly to set the diapers aside, whispering that she didn't need them. David's heart sank. He could see that she needed everything she had chosen but simply couldn't afford it. As the girl prepared to leave with only the baby food, David called out, stopping her in her tracks. "You can keep the diapers," he said with a reassuring smile. Startled, the girl stammered that she couldn't pay for them, but David quickly interjected, improvising, "There's a promotion today. You're our lucky customer. The diapers are a free gift." Her face lit up with disbelief and gratitude. Tears welled in her eyes as she clasped his hand, thanking him profusely. "You don't know how much this means to me," she murmured, her voice trembling with emotion. David's simple gesture had turned her day around, but as she left the store, he knew the consequences might follow. Sure enough, not long after, his manager, Henry, summoned him to the office. Cold and unyielding, Henry reprimanded David for giving away merchandise without authorization, citing company policy. Despite David's explanation that it was an act of kindness, Henry dismissed it entirely, firing him on the spot. David left the store with his head held high but a heavy heart. He had done the right thing even if it cost him the stability he relied on. Deep down, he knew that helping the struggling mother had been worth the sacrifice. Anna Hamilton's life was once the envy of everyone around her. She was the captain of her high school cheerleading squad, a vibrant and popular girl with a bright future ahead. Her relationship with Henry, the school's basketball captain, made them the quintessential high school power couple. However, beneath the surface of their picture-perfect romance, cracks began to form. Anna was deeply in love, but Henry only saw their relationship as a way to bolster his popularity. When Anna discovered she was pregnant, her world turned upside down. Hoping Henry would support her, she confided in him, only to be met with indifference and betrayal. Henry had already moved on, dating Tia, the daughter of a celebrity. His callous dismissal left Anna heartbroken and vulnerable. As if her boyfriend's betrayal weren't enough, Anna's parents also turned their backs on her. They couldn't accept her teenage pregnancy, and instead of offering the support she so desperately needed, they disowned her. Suddenly, Anna found herself alone, abandoned by everyone she once relied on. When her daughter, Dania, was born, Anna found a new sense of purpose. The moment she held her baby, her heartbreak was eclipsed by an overwhelming love and determination to provide for her child. She vowed to do everything in her power to give Dania the life she deserved, even if it meant facing relentless hardships. Despite her resolve, life as a single teenage mother was anything but easy. Without a stable home or emotional support, Anna struggled to make ends meet. She took whatever jobs she could find, putting Dania's needs above her own. Each day was a battle, but Anna pressed on, driven by her unconditional love for her daughter. Anna's determination to provide for Dania led her to take a job as a janitor at a local high school. With no one to care for her baby, she fashioned a makeshift carrier from old clothes, tying Dania securely to her back as she worked. While the job was far from ideal, it allowed her to keep her daughter close, a small comfort in an otherwise harsh reality. Her routine was not without challenges. One day, while Anna was breastfeeding Dania discreetly near the cafeteria, the school principal noticed. He issued her a stern warning, leaving her feeling humiliated and on edge. From then on, Anna had to keep Dania's presence at the school a secret, a task that added to her already overwhelming stress. The turning point came when a student tripped over a pacifier Dania had accidentally dropped in the hallway. Unfortunately, the girl happened to be the mayor's spoiled daughter. Embarrassed and angry, She caused an uproar, demanding to know why there was a pacifier in the school. Mocking laughter rippled through the hall, while some students whispered in disapproval. The principal quickly diffused the situation, but the damage was done. In an effort to appease the mayor's family, Anna was fired from her job. Losing her only source of income was devastating, and worse still, no one else was willing to hire her after the incident. For weeks, Anna struggled to make ends meet, juggling bills and necessities while trying to shield Dania from the harshness of their reality. That day at the store, when David showed her a rare moment of kindness, it felt like a small but significant ray of hope in her otherwise bleak circumstances. David's decision to help Anna was not just an impulsive act of kindness. It was deeply rooted in his own painful past. Years ago, his sister Rosie had found herself in a situation eerily similar to Anna's. Rosie, a bright and caring young woman, became a teenage mother after falling for the wrong man. Stephen, her partner, abandoned her as soon as he learned of her pregnancy, moving on to someone else without a second thought. Rosie's troubles didn't end there. Their parents, unable to cope with the shame and responsibility, disowned her, leaving her to navigate the challenges of single motherhood entirely on her own. At the time, David was in another city, struggling to launch a music career. He only learned of Rosie's dire situation too late to help. Overwhelmed by the weight of her responsibilities and without a support system, Rosie became increasingly exhausted and distracted. One fateful day, she crossed a street without noticing the green light and was struck by an oncoming car. The accident claimed her life, leaving behind her infant son, Robbie, who miraculously survived thanks to the baby carrier she had been wearing. Rosie's tragic death left an indelible mark on David. Racked with guilt over not being there for her, he vowed to do everything he could for Robbie, stepping into the role of both uncle and surrogate parent. His parents, filled with regret, also committed themselves to raising Robbie, but the pain of losing Rosie never faded. When David saw Anna struggling at the store, her situation struck a painful chord. She reminded him of Rosie, her helplessness, her resilience, and her love for her child. In that moment, David acted instinctively, offering her the diapers as a way to honor his sister's memory and to do for Anna what he couldn't do for Rosie. Little did he know that this simple gesture, born of his own grief and compassion, would set off a chain of events that would change both their lives forever. After being fired from his job, David returned to his modest apartment, weighed down by the loss and uncertainty about the future. As he sat in despair, trying to plan his next steps, a loud noise suddenly disrupted his thoughts. A helicopter landing nearby. Frustrated by the constant commotion from the hotel helipad next door, David muttered under his breath and walked over to close the window. Before he could, something unusual caught his eye. A sleek helicopter had just touched down, and a sharply dressed woman stepped out, her confident stride drawing immediate attention. Clad in a tailored black suit and dark sunglasses, she exuded an air of authority. Beside her was a man who appeared to be her assistant. He leaned in to speak to her, gesturing briefly toward David's apartment. David felt a sudden twist of unease in his stomach. Was this just a coincidence? Or were they actually pointing at him? Shaking off the thought as paranoia, he stepped back and closed the window. Little did he know, events were already in motion. Minutes later, the doorbell rang. Startled, David grabbed a towel to dry his still damp hair and moved to answer the door. Standing there was the same woman he had seen exiting the helicopter. Up close, she seemed even more commanding, her sharp gaze softening slightly as she smiled politely. "David Anderson?" she asked, her tone firm yet friendly. "Yes," David replied, his curiosity piqued. The woman extended her hand in greeting. "I'm Elizabeth Hamilton, owner of the Hamilton hotel chain. May I come in? I'd like to talk to you." David's mind raced. Elizabeth Hamilton? The name was instantly recognizable. She was a celebrated entrepreneur, known for owning a sprawling network of luxury hotels and recently featured in a business magazine as the youngest entrepreneur of the year. Trying to mask his surprise, David stepped aside to let her in, wondering why someone of her stature was visiting his humble apartment. Was this about the hotel next door? Did he unknowingly do something wrong? As Elizabeth stepped inside, she surveyed his modest home with a quiet, respectful demeanor. "Would you like some tea or coffee?" David asked hesitantly, still grappling with the surreal nature of the moment. "No, thank you," she replied with a warm smile. Then, to his utter astonishment, she took his hands in hers and said, "I'm here to thank you. You're the only person who showed my sister such kindness, and I will never forget the compassion you extended to her." David blinked in confusion. "Your sister?" Elizabeth nodded, her expression softening further. "Yes, the young woman you helped at the store, Anna. She's my sister." Elizabeth smiled warmly as she continued, explaining how Anna's life had unfolded. Anna made some choices that led her down a difficult path, and, unfortunately, our parents turned their backs on her. I was away for business and didn't know the full extent of what she was going through until recently. David stood there, speechless, still processing the revelation that Anna was Elizabeth's sister. His mind was racing, trying to connect the dots between the girl he'd helped in the store and this powerful woman standing in front of him. Elizabeth, noticing his astonishment, added, "I've been trying to reconnect with Anna. She's had a rough time, but I'm doing my best to support her now. I heard about what happened at the store, the diapers you gave her and how it cost you your job." David nodded slowly, feeling a lump rise in his throat. "I couldn't just stand by. I saw so much of my sister in her. I wasn't there for Rosie when she needed me, and I wasn't going to make the same mistake with Anna." Elizabeth's eyes softened with understanding. "You're a rare soul, David," she said, her voice full of gratitude. "You didn't deserve to lose your job for doing the right thing." For a moment, David could only look at her, his heart swelling with both relief and disbelief. He had never imagined that his small act of kindness would be seen by someone so important, let alone have such a deep connection to the woman he had helped. Elizabeth reached into her pocket and handed David a card. "This is my office address," she said with a smile. "We're actually looking for a musician, and I believe we might have found the right person for the job." David stared at the card in disbelief. Music was his passion, something he had put aside to care for his late sister's son, Robbie. He had always dreamed of pursuing a career in music, but circumstances had kept him from doing so. Now, it seemed like fate was offering him a second chance. Elizabeth, noticing his shock, added, "You deserve to be rewarded for your kindness. I believe your heart is in the right place, and I'd love to have you on board if you're interested." For a moment, David was speechless. The weight of everything, the sacrifice he had made for Robbie, his struggles to make ends meet, and now this unexpected opportunity, was almost too much to take in. He couldn't have imagined a better turn of events. Tears of joy filled David's eyes as he reflected on the incredible turn of events. He had always followed his mother's advice. Do good, and good will come to you. Despite the hardships he faced, his act of kindness had led to an unexpected opportunity. Now, not only could he continue caring for his nephew Robbie, but he also had a chance to pursue his passion for music, the dream he had put on hold for so long. As Elizabeth left, David stood in his apartment, overwhelmed with gratitude. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of hope. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one where he could follow his heart and still provide for his family. He smiled, knowing that sometimes the right things happen when you least expect them.